guess the first opening remarks needs to be a mazel tov for the Oven Mesaimei Limud Harambam, and speak about Simcha, סיום הרמב, Rashbi, and Tafshim and Vav and Fabrengen. The Rebbe speaks, and he says that there's different minhagim when it comes to the avelus that take place throughout the days of Sfiras HaOmer. How to count Lamed Gimel Yoim until Lag BaOmer from Rishkei Iyar, and that in Minik Chabad there's certain yom of avelus that extend the whole Sfira. So the Rebbe suggests that when it comes to Lag BaOmer, to be able to celebrate the Choladeis and Eifin Amutar Api Shulchan Aruch, they should be Mekasher, they should arrange a סיום on Lag BaOmer, and that way the Simcha of Lag BaOmer could be Kasher L'Choladeis and everyone could be Mishtafet. And so the fact that today is the סיום Harambam and the Aschala of the new Machzer definitely fulfills this requirement to be able to increase in the Simcha of Lag BaOmer. Speaking about the Kesher of the Rambam and Rashbi, today's Shir Rambam, the Hakdama, perhaps we can call it the Sheshalas Hayachas, that the Rambam brings down. He mentions the Reb Shimon, the Rashbi, and when he brings down the Mesorah of who was Mekabel Nepihu, he brings down the Rabbi Akiva and the Talmidei Rabbi Akiva and Reb Shimon, and so he mentions, I don't know if this is perhaps the only place in Rambam where he mentions Reb Shimon directly. In last week's Parsha, Parshas Emer, the first pasuk, second pasuk, the first Rashi in the Parsha, the pasuk begins, Emer leKahanim bnei Arin v'amarta aleim lenefesh leitam ba'ama. The famous question, why the repetition, why the double lashon of Amira, Emer v'amarta, Emer leKahanim, but why this double lashon of Emer v'amarta? And Rashi brings down a Gemara, lahazir gedolim alaktanim, that when it comes to Tumas Mes, the Kohanim have a special mitzvah that not only those that are over bar mitzvah, have to make sure that they don't become tamei, but also they have to make sure that their children don't become tamei. There's different opinions whether they have a chiyuv to be mafresh the ktanim, that the ktanim should not become tamei, or is it only a chiyuv that they should not make the ktanim tamei? But in the Gemara, the source of this Rashi is the Gemara in Yevamis, and the Gemara brings down two other places in Torah which bring out the same nekuda of lahazir g'deilim alaktanim. When it comes to blood, dam, the Torah says, Al ken amarti l'bnei Yisrael kol nefesh mikem l'seich adam, which is an extra pasuk, because the pasuk psukim before already discussed the Isser of achilas dam. So why the need to once again tell us kol nefesh l'seich adam, and over there also the blessing is lahazir g'deilim alaktanim. And in the third place is with regards to shiratzim, the Torah says leisoichum ki sheketzeim. Once again, that pasuk is coming to tell us lahazir g'deilim alaktanim. And the Gemara in Yevamis makes a whole tzrichasa what each one has that the other doesn't. Why the Torah cannot teach us in one location lahazir g'deilim alaktanim. And just to quickly mention, when it comes to shiratzim, the unique chumrah that a sheretz has is that the sheer tumah that happens through shiratzim is a small sheer. The Gemara says Yisurim b'mashu, the sheer tumah famously is ka'adasha. Taisus over there is Meir and Rashi that It's also by shrotzim, it's a yin of kezayis, but sometimes if it's a barrier, it's a mashu. Mashenkin dam requires a revius, the Gemara says. The chumrah of dam is that it's an avera that carries with it Eser Karis, which Kahanim, Tumas Mes doesn't carry, Achil Shratzim doesn't carry. And the chumrah by Kahanim of Tumas Mes is that shiny Kahanim, the Riba Bahem Makosu Mitzvahs Yisera, is to have extra mitzvahs that nobody else has. The Rebbe Nasicha in Chelek Zayin goes through these mitzvahs and through the Tzad that the Gemara brings out. Why dafka these mitzvahs does the Torah tell us, chooses to tell us the message of Lahazir Del Malakane, what does each one have that the other doesn't? And how this dafka, by telling us the message, by these mitzvahs, this is a lesson, there's a hira klolis for kol Torah kula, for all mitzvahs in the Torah. But connected to the idea of achilas dam, there's a Rambam in Hilchos Machalos Asuris, and the Rambam over there says, Ha'ichum kezayis min adam b'mezid chayav karis b'shegig maybe chatas kavur. Someone that eats a kezayis of blood is chayav karis. And if it's a shegig, it brings a carbon chatas. When you read the halacha, automatically your ears perk up. Ha'eichel kezayis dam. What does it mean? Since when do you eat blood? And what's the shear of kezayis? Dam famously is shiva mashkin, the 7 types of liquids that are machshir, l'kabel tumah. The Gemara in Chulin learns out from the pasuk Nevuas Bilam, connected to Mashiach, of course. The dam chalalim yishte, the dam is considered a mashke. The Gemara in Psachim speaks about the mashke that were brought in the Mizbeach and so on. Blood is a liquid. For liquids, the shear is a revius. Why does the Rambam write the halacha Eichel kezayis min hadam? And interestingly, even in the Gemara that we mentioned, the Gemara in Yevamis, that speaks the difference between a sheretz and a dam. The Gemara says that shratzim yisurim lemashu al dam requires a revius. There's a little note on the side of the Gemara that in the Kisvi Yad of the Gemara, it actually didn't say dam is revius, but dam is kezayis. So weiter, the same nekuda. And the answer that's given is because by the Torah, in the Isser of Dam, the Torah basically uses Lashon Achila. Many psukim. Ishish Mebeis Yisrael, U'minager Agay B'Sefer She'yechal Kol Dam, Nasati Panim Naf She'echelas Es Adam, V'yimad B'nei Yisrael Dam Kol Basar Le'Seichelu, L'chol Dam Le'Seichlu, Kol Nefesh She'teichal Dam, and so on and so forth. Many psukim, all related to Dam, that Haitzia Makasu B'Lashon Achila. The truth of the matter is that even in the Rambam itself, if you continue Hilchos Machalos Asuros and Perek Yudalid, the Rambam does relate to Dam with regards in the Teichim of drinking, and brings down a share of Revius, which has to be understood as steer in the Rambam between Perek Vav and Perek Yudalid. Some want to say that there's a difference between whether the Dam is karush or tzol, whether it's congealed or whether it's liquid form, whether perhaps someone is eating it, like dipping his bread into the dam, and perhaps then chilukim between whether the shears are kezayis, whether the shears are revius, and so on. But the Rebbe is mayor on this, and the Rebbe brings down a ha'ara, a beer of piprimius and yonim, with regards to this deal to the Rambam that he treats dam as oichel. The main difference between food, mazain, and liquid, mashkin, Shasiya, is that the purpose of liquid and fluids is not the nourishment that it gives to a person. The purpose of the liquids is to take the food that a person eats and to distribute it and to channel it and to take it throughout the person's body wherever it's needed. As the Ramam himself brings down in Pirush Mishnayos on the Mishnah in Eruvin, that Bakol Ma'arvin, when a person does Eruv Chumin, for example, he can use everything except Chutz Min HaMayim and Min HaMelach, because that's not considered mazain, it's not considered food. They moiliches hamazain, they take the food to wherever they need to take. In the chiyuv of benching in Atera, we say v'achalta v'savata v'irachta. V'achalta, you shall eat. The savata, person becomes satisfied and full. V'irachta, and he has the chiyuv of making a bracha. But the chiyuv of birkas hamazon is for achila, is for eating, not for shtia, because again, the idea of shtia is to be meilechus hamazon, to take the mazon throughout the body. And that's why the Rebbe is medayek that even though the Gemara tells us in Eruvin and Sukkah that shiurim, the concept of shiurim, kezayis, revius, and other shiurim is all Allah Mishim Sinai, but why take? When it comes to food, shiurim and kezayis, which is smaller than the shiur of the liquid, which is revius, is because mazin means it's amazing, it nourishes, it satisfies, it fills, and therefore it requires even a smaller shiur is sufficient. Masha'inking, something which is not mazin, requires a lot more. And so the Rebbe concludes, Iker ha'achila, the main purpose of achila is sha'maychel nefach ledam. When the maychel, after a person eats it, becomes blood, ke'adamu ha'nefesh, and through that, yichya ha'adam, through that a person lives. And so the Rebbe says that dam, blood, has a gather in Torah of achila, of mazain, and therefore the shear in which a person is over, the Rambam quotes it and uses the lashon of achila, the shear of kezayis, that's a shear for mazain and not a shear that's negeah to mashkin, because dam is considered mazain, and that's why the Torah speaks about dam in the eifin of lo seichlu, kol nefesh asher teichal dam, and so on and so forth. There's a letter in the back of the Sichos Chelek Beis where the Rebbe mentions this Ma'arim Chazal, this Gemara B'Hazir Gdeilim Al Kanim with regards to the three mitzvahs, or Yisurim, Shkatzim, Dam, and Tumah. And the Rebbe brings it down to Chinuch. And the Rebbe says that there are three primary reasons that people give up, people refrain, and feel that any kind of ashpah will not work. And we speak about Sim Rambam, and we speak about Aschalas Limud Rambam. Of course, the Maskifim is the Seifa, the Aschala. A big component of it is the hischachus of the commitment to be able to learn. Bachim in yeshiva, many times they say, I give up on this sugi, I'll start with the next Mishnah, after the test, the next perek, the next Zman. And with Rambam, sometimes people wait to the next cycle in which we stand today. Rebbe says, Shkatzim, Sheket Sein Lochem, Nafshe Shalom Katzabehem, people are disgusted by it. Someone that eats shkatzim is looked at as being disgusting, despicable. A person who's such a low level, how will he be able to accept and absorb the Iyun of Torah Neshama? The Iyun of Dam There's a sifri that says, "Rak chazak legut echel sadam," because the Bnei Yisrael were shtufim bedam. They used to consume it very much, and so rak chazak, it needs a special nesinas koyach to be able to overcome it. In other words, the dam represents something that a person has become accustomed to, has become teva, v'teva sheni, it's become habit. How do you break old habits? And the Indian of Tumah, the Rebbe says, is the idea that things that are abstract, like Tumah v'tara, that people say you can teach someone, things that are moving al piseichel, but things that are abstract, things that are Xeris HaKasuv, it's very difficult to explain and to influence someone in those matters. And the Rebbe therefore says the lesson from the fact that the Torah teaches us lahazer g'deilim alaktanim, but all of these three mitzvahs, is that there is no room to say that because someone is a Grab Yum, there's no chance that he's going to accept something that you will tell him. And just because you've become accustomed to and it's become your habit, a certain type of anhaga, lahazer g'deilim alaktanim, you should not say that. There's no room for such a taina to say that you cannot be mashpi on someone, something on someone that claims that he's been accustomed to that. And with regards to Tumas Kanim, there's no room for a taina to say that something that's abstract, something that's totally an emunah and kabbalah so, that someone will not accept. The Rebbe was misyachis to Shuri Chitas as a shavim l'chol nefesh. In every letter, many letters, where the Rebbe speaks about betach shemer al shuri v'shavim l'chol nefesh, things that are applicable to everybody. As you mentioned in the Pinchas Menachem, you can learn a pasuk chumash and just with the Rashi, you can learn it with Yidalach and the Farshei Rashi, and you can learn it with Elad Amuka Meretz Midah, Aruka Meretz Midah, Recham Miniyam. But the same thing is with Limud HaRambam, the Rebbe's own takana, the Pashtus, it's also Shalom Chol Nefesh. After all, there's Gimel Prakim, Perek Echad, Sefer HaMitzvahs. There's room for Lahazer Gedolim Alaktanim, that for the Gedolim, for the adults in the house, to be Mechanech, the Kfanim, and the Bnei Bayis, to partake in the Rebbe's takana. The punishment for Achilas Dam, we said the Gemara says is Karis. The Alter Rebbe in Tanya, and he gets a tshuva, famously gives the mashal on the pasuk of Yaakov Chevel Nachlasai, that Taryag mitzvahs are Taryag nimin, 613 strands of hair, of rope, that connect a person to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And every aveda that a person does, it severs a certain connection. But something which is punishable by Karyas means that this aveda is so strong that it severs the entire rope. Lehepech, B'kedusha. When we speak of Dam to Kedusha, it's the greatest thing that could be. The whole Avedis HaKarbones, Lahakiv Chel Le'Vedamai, Chassidus speaks about the Avedis HaAdam, the idea of a carbon, to get close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Limud HaRambam, if we were to compare it to this Nekuda, where Dam, being over on Achilas Dam, is an Isser Karis, it disconnects the Hiskashus HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When we fulfill the Takana of Limud HaRambam, this is our Hiskashus to the Rebbe's Takanas. B'tumah, there's many tzivuyim, the Torah forbids us from eating dam. B'kedusha, dam is the Avedas HaAdam. Avodas HaTfilah, the hakrava of the person's gashmius tolokos. Dam famously being in Sfiras HaEmer, Yitzias Mitzrayim, Dam Pesach and Dam Mila was this chus in which Nigal Abiseinu Mitzrayim. What is the difference between Dam Pesach and Dam Mila? Dam Pesach represented in Sfiras Nefesh that Eden had to Mekayim Tzivim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Eibush said, V'ikol HaMshed, Yisrael V'esav, Yisrael Avoyis, to take the lohus of the mitzvim, and they went to Sfiras Nefesh to do it, notwithstanding what's going, the uprising that's going to happen as a result. Ubinyaneinu, all the miniyas v'ikuvim, to some it's a davar ha'pashut, to others it's a struggle, and to many it's a big struggle. But that Pesach represents the Mesiras Nefesh to overcome all the miniyas v'ikuvim that stop you, in this case from learning Rambam. And that Milah, the mitzvah of Milah, Ke'edua, is a mitzvah, it's an atzmistic mitzvah, famous story of Damelach, Beis HaMerchatz, and even he thought he's already called mitzvahs. And the Milah reminded him that even the Beis HaMerchatz, he's connected to HaKadosh Baruch. And what we mentioned before, that the Rebbe says that the idea of Dam is that it's Mazayin. Chassidus explains famously, of course, that Torah is Mazayin, Pnimi, and Mazayin, of course, becomes one. Limud Torah, a person becomes one with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The greatest achdus that a Yid can have with HaKadosh Baruch Hu is through Limud Torah. So Dam Milah represents, perhaps, the Limud of Rambam, the Havana Vasava and understanding Rambam, where it becomes one with you. And to conclude with a vertical, perhaps, the Rebbe speaks about Parsha Shemitah, Parsha Bahar, that the Torah starts off with Shemitah. But the Torah doesn't start off with Sheishes Yomim, Sheishes Shonim, Tizra Sadecha, and Tizra Karmecha, Vashana Shviz, Shabbos Hashem Lekach. The Torah starts off right away, B'Shavsa Aretz, B'Shavsa Shabbos Hashem. And only then, Sheish Shonim Tizra Sadecha. The first thing is Shabbos. The first thing a Yid has to know that he's connected to Shabbos. He's connected to Amadega that's above and beyond having to go and to work. To some people, when they come and they say, Limud Rambam, Gimel Prakim B'Yoyim, you miss a day, the next day you have 6, you miss 2 days, it's 9. It's a Har Sinai. It's a big mountain. It's hard to overcome it. It's not shaykh for Anoshim Kerekenu, perhaps. But the Torah says, Ma'ayin Shmita, it's Har Sinai, Ma'ayin, it's all Kulam Yisina. Even the Sadcha and the Karmecha, the simple things we deal with, what we feel we're shaykh to, it's Har Sinai, it's the same thing. But especially in a year like this year, a year of Shemitah, that even those of us that are always involved with Sadcha and Karmecha and Avodas Kapayim and etc., we're also on the level that we realize that we can be closer to Har Sinai. Nidmulei Kahar, as the Gemara says. And so if I can to conclude, we're all shaykh to Limud Rambam, we're all shaykh to keep the takana, Kal Khan from Shir Delay. The Limud Rambam is a bechina of Dam in this context of his kashus to the Rebbe. It's Kadamu HaNefesh, it's the Chayus that we have. It's Pnimi, we become one with the idea of Torah, Makit all the Torah, from beginning to end, including with Hilchos Malachim, Bias HaMashiach, Meher Yemei.
for your inspirational words. And as you mentioned, we're starting now a new master, so we shouldn't even have to talk about falling behind. Everybody should learn Variant Yoimoi, and everything will be good. We're now in the Davin Ma'ariv. People that macha brocha freine will sich macha brocha freine. After Ma'ariv will give a Yoshim will macha freine. Yo? Yeah. Okay, we'll do it after Ma'ariv. I want to thank Rabbi Shmuel Zalmanov for being the Yosef Roish of the Vader Sima Rambam, Rabbi Zalmanov. And I want to invite everybody for next year, Erev Beis Year, for the next סיום Rambam, which is going to take place in Yerushalayim, Bezos Hashem Tzvon.
Tchila Ri ben Yerushalayim. Tchila Ri ben Yerushalayim.
Shkoich HaShul, Zeh Hatz Gedan Mebeti. It's your birthday.
Look at my sponsor.
Ah, I never knew.